Hey guys, Dr. Derry here, owner of Vision Health Services in Jacksonville, Florida. And today I have Michael Humphries, attorney at law here in Jacksonville, Florida. And we're going to go over MVAs. And so when you should seek representation, why you should, what attorneys do in that process, and why they may benefit you if you are in a car accident and experiencing pain afterwards. I treat those folks, but it's really, really good to kind of see an attorney's point of view and see how they can help you out. So if you want to learn more, hang with me. We're going to meet him and learn more about his practice here in a couple seconds. All right. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you joining me today. And so today I have Michael Humphries, attorney, located in the Riverside area. And I've been looking forward to this interview because representation is something that my patients ask me about, and I've always been curious about. And when I'm treating these people with neck pain and back pain after an MVA, this is something that usually comes up. And so I'm glad you're here. Thank you for taking the time to join me. I really appreciate it. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dr. Derry. Really
Yeah.
excited. Hopefully, I can, shed a little bit of light on hiring an attorney if you're involved in a
Yeah.
motor vehicle accident or injured. Um, my name is Michael Humphries. I own my own practice, Humphries Law. I've been an injury attorney approximately 9 years. I'm born and raised in Jacksonville, and very happy to,
Nice.
help out the people of Jacksonville if they are in the unfortunate circumstance where they do happen to be injured in a motor vehicle accident.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate it. We've met before, and I mean, you're a great guy, and I know you've been around for a while, and you've had your own practice, and you recently got a award, right? For
I, I was
or
fortunate enough to be selected to Super Lawyers Rising Stars and then
yeah,
best lawyers attorneys on the rise. Um,
sure, sure, and that's
so very
awesome.
very fortunate.
Yeah. Well, perfect. So I'm sure you get this question a lot. So what do you wish people knew about attorneys or kind of tackling some of the apprehensions around hiring an attorney?
I think most of the apprehension I see from folks when they're debating whether they should hire an attorney is
Hmm.
that they aren't the type person, or they don't consider themselves the type of person who wants to sue someone.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't, and that's
Yeah.
perfectly okay. And a lot of times, I would say more often than not, we're able to resolve things without actually having to file a lawsuit.
Okay.
And if we do get to the point where we have to file a lawsuit, we don't do so without discussing anything with the client, because it's the
Yeah.
client's life, it's the client's claim. And
Sure.
so we're the adversary for the client. We can't
Yeah.
do something without their say so. That's unethical, and it's just immoral. So
Yeah.
if anybody is concerned about being a litigious person and the type of person that doesn't want to file a lawsuit, that's
Yeah.
definitely not something that you have to do in order to potentially collect compensation or just protect yourself after a motor
Mhm.
vehicle accident.
Yeah, yeah. Those are really good points. I feel like some people, if they're in that situation, may not be the focus of control, but I think you just iterated that, they are in control and you don't make any decisions without their consent.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly there may be small everyday decisions that we make, like
Hmm.
getting their medical records from a medical provider. That's
Yeah.
certainly something we would do, although they would have to sign a HIPAA authorization. But
Yeah.
in terms of strategy and whether something's going to be filed in court, or whether
Mhm.
you're making an offer to settle with the insurance company, that's ultimately the client's decision. We just
Yeah.
educate the client as much as we can and give them the tools to make that decision.
That's awesome. And I think if, I can echo a lot of that because when I treat patients, that's exactly what I do as well. Like the patient's always in control. They never have to do anything they don't feel comfortable with. So they're not losing, who they are, and they can still make decisions that represent, that go with their beliefs and what they believe in. So I appreciate that you mentioned that because I feel like there's some attorneys in the area that may not do things that way.
I like to think that we have a good group of lawyers in Jacksonville, and that Jacksonville's a good place. There may be a few bad apples that spoil the bunch, but by
Sure.
and large, I think most folks do a good job of representing people here.
Yeah, and I agree. I think the ones that I've worked with so far are very kind, and they always have the patient's best interests in mind. And so the people that I've worked with so far, I've been lucky as well. And so let's say someone's in a motor vehicle accident, like how soon do you recommend they seek representation or at least talk to an attorney?
It's a great question. And what I would say is if you think you may be hurt, and I say maybe, a lot of people don't experience pain right away because of the adrenaline rush.
Hmm.
Um, you should call an attorney
Okay.
because it's not going to cost you any money.
Hmm.
And they're going to let you know steps that you may need to take to protect yourself and protect the rights that you purchased when you purchase an insurance policy.
Sure.
So one thing in Florida that anyone gets, and regardless of who's at fault for an accident, is $10,000 of personal injury protection insurance.
Hmm. Hmm.
But you have to go to a doctor within 14 days, and there's certain types of doctors that you have to go to within the 14 days in order to get that benefit you paid for.
Yep.
So by waiting to consult with an attorney or waiting to treat, those are really the two ways that you can hurt yourself. And one of the
Right.
reasons you should really contact an attorney immediately is, we understand what evidence needs to be preserved,
Hmm.
and that starts getting cleaned up very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really good to have an attorney who can either go themselves or hire an investigator to go and document the accident scene because the longer you wait, that evidence is just getting cleaned up. And a
Yeah.
lot of times, unfortunately, we work with experts who can recreate things as best they can, but
Yeah.
certainly live photograph or live video or photographs is the superior evidence.
Man, those are all good points because I feel like my first reaction would just to be like to jump on Google and like try to navigate that myself. And so consulting that expert can be really important. And when I treat back pain and I have people go to Google first, I'm always like, oh man, and I'm sure you have the same thing when people are trying to navigate things on their own, then they finally reach out to you. And so I think what I heard there is sometimes earlier than you think, you should at least seek some wisdom from an attorney.
I would do so immediately. I would say that's not the case with most people because most people are like, okay, I need
Yep.
to get to a doctor, or I have
Yeah,
a
yeah,
child to pick up from school, or whatever, life happens.
yeah, yeah.
I would say if you can't call an attorney immediately, everybody has an iPhone or a smartphone these days. Videotape the accident scene and take as
Okay,
many pictures as you can. I'm not
okay,
talking about just a close up of the physical evidence of or the
yeah,
physical damage to your car. If there's
uh-huh,
tire marks, that's something that can be used to help prove negligence, which is who is potentially at fault for the accident.
okay,
So really, there's a lot of stuff that experts who are very smart and do this all day can use to recreate the accident. And if you can gather more information, you're definitely strengthening the possibilities that you can prevail.
okay. Yeah, that's all good to know. I think we just kind of have like a little checklist there, right? So make sure you're okay, go to the doctor, get taken care of and looked at because you have benefits available for to you to do that. But then once the dust start to settle a little bit, if you're contemplating representation, that would be a good time to do it.
Absolutely. And I would say don't contemplate, just make a phone call.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be to me. There's a lot of really good attorneys in Jacksonville. Certainly, you can call me.
Yeah.
Everybody, for the most part, will offer a free consultation and let you know their thoughts.
Okay.
And if you do want to, try to settle with an insurance company, you are going to have better results if you have an attorney rather than going at it yourself.
Sure, sure. I believe it. I 100% believe it. There's a lot of parallels between what you and I do, right? And, you're representing that person and I'm trying to get them feeling better. And so having that expert next to you can be very worthwhile.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about your practice. So I know there's a lot of various varying sizes of practice in Jacksonville. And I tend to like to work with smaller practices, but tell me some of the benefits of working with a smaller practice like yourself.
Sure. So, if anybody has a television or the internet, you will
Yeah.
see a lot of advertisements from attorneys who maybe tout their size.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that my size being, I'm a solo practitioner, I
Yeah.
am the attorney at my firm. I think that's a benefit. When you're hiring me, that you get an attorney who is experienced and not a younger attorney who's running a case who maybe doesn't have that experience. Um,
Yeah.
One thing that I think is beneficial about me is I actually used to work on the other side, and instead of representing individuals, I would represent companies or
Mhm.
individuals who were sued who were potentially at fault for the accident.
Sure.
against a person who was injured. So I have a pretty good grasp of how insurance companies like to operate and try
Sure.
to settle and defend cases. And now I
Hmm.
just use that information for my clients' benefit.
Yeah.
And then another point where I think it's very similar to your practice, um, you're not calling and talking to an operator who isn't even in the same building, who doesn't know, in your case, the doctor,
Yeah. Yeah.
or in my case, the attorney. If you call me, you're going to get me.
Yeah.
My calls get forwarded to my cell phone, so my availability is really, um, I would say, more so than
Hmm.
attorneys at larger firms. And I'm here to help. You won't have to talk to a call center or a paralegal who, maybe isn't as well educated as an attorney.
Yeah, I think those are all good points. And when I have that communication, to the attorney's office, it's always nice to get a hold of the attorney that has, able to answer those questions a little bit quicker, a little more clear, a little more specific. And so providing that personal touch and offering that to your clients goes a long way. It goes a really long way, especially in those who maybe dealing with some chronic discomfort now and not able to work and having questions, and so just being there for them is a large part of this.
I agree completely.
Mm,
I think people or businesses oftentimes kind of don't realize how busy people's lives are, and especially when you're hurting, everything's harder.
yeah.
So I try to make it easier for my clients, whether how I communicate with them. If my
Mhm.
clients want to communicate with me outside of your traditional 9 to 5 business hours, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
If they would like me to come to them to to consult or bring them documents to sign, I'm happy to do that, or I'll send a
Yeah.
courier. It's really just, I try to make things easier for the client so they can focus on getting better, because ultimately, I think what we all want is for the injured party to feel better.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And get them back to their normal as fast as we can, and let them do the things that they love to do. And so it's just nice that client to start building their team, right? From a medical provider as well as representation if needed, and a medical provider if needed. Sometimes people don't need us, and that's great as well. But just being there for the people who actually do need us is really, really nice.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's about. It's helping
Mm.
people.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you have an office in Riverside, correct?
Yep. In 5 points, about a block away from 5 points.
Perfect. Right. So you have a physical location, you have an office. People can reach out to you via email and phone, right?
Yeah, you can call me. I have social media, although, nowadays it's what a lot of people do. You can send me messages there. Really
Yeah.
try to have a lot of different avenues to connect with people, because that's really, the world is digital these days.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So your website name, what's that?
It is Humphries-law.com, and Humphries is Humphiries.
Perfect. And so that's a good way to get a hold of you. People can jump on your website and just learn a little bit more about you as well as this video, and they can kind of get a sense of your personality and how you represent them, which is amazing. And they can reach out to you if they have any questions or want to do that free consultation.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're injured or just generally have a question about how
Mhm.
things work, I can typically answer them pretty quickly, and I'm not going to, there's no obligation. If you aren't comfortable with me or you don't need an attorney, ultimately, that's perfectly fine. That's what the
Yeah,
free consultation's for.
absolutely. And it can save them hours from Googling too. So it's just quick to reach out.
And a lot of times, everything's not always black and white, to where
Yeah.
maybe you find something on Google, but there is an exception to the rule. And,
Yeah.
that's what attorneys' jobs is to kind of know all that stuff. So it's definitely can be a big time saver.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. That's why you went to all those years of school too, just to help clarify some of that for people.
Yeah, absolutely. If I don't know it, the good thing is I also know how to find it very quickly. So I
Yeah.
can get you answers quickly and without using Google.
Great. Great. Well, perfect. I think we covered today of like, maybe some things that they should do after they've had an accident, maybe clear up some of the cloudiness or fogginess around hiring an attorney, and that there's really, it's not quite as scary as some would think. And then maybe what to look for in maybe a smaller practice versus a larger practice, and having that personal connection. And so I think those are major questions that people have after they've been in an accident or know somebody who's been in an accident. And you're really just, building that team to make sure that you are getting the outcome that you deserve, feeling better, and just making sure that you're able to get back to the life that you had before.
Right. I mean, that's the goal. Our goal is ultimately, your goal is to make them physically better.
Yeah.
Our goal is to make sure that they can be compensated monetarily for the medical treatment and things that they're going to need going forward.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of people will see personal injury settlements or verdicts and think that somebody's, winning the lottery and that this is just play money. But truly, you're getting that money for medical treatment that you need in the
Mhm.
future, and then the pain and suffering that you're enduring.
Yep.
And attorneys are definitely the way to ensure that you're getting what is
Mhm.
fair and what is just.
Yeah, yeah, those are all really good points. And sometimes we forget, your whatever happened during the accident goes beyond what you're just feeling now. And so I focus on the here and now a little bit more, and you have them covered in the long run. So that's good to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Fortunately, there are a lot of talented medical providers that are able to get people feeling the way they felt before the accident a lot of
Yeah.
times, but there are those times where
Yeah.
you may need continued care for the rest of your life, or treatment
Yeah.
beyond what is anticipated.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's why you're there, right? To make sure everybody's taken care of.
That's the goal.
Yeah. Well, perfect. Well, I appreciate you taking these few minutes here just to chat a little bit about your practice and answer some of those questions and provide some tips for people if they're considering an attorney or if they've really recently been in an accident. I encourage people to reach out to you if they have any questions. You've always been a good resource for me. And so I really appreciate your time and all the efforts that you've put in.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I enjoyed it, and if anybody has any questions, definitely check out my website or give
Yeah.
me a call 904-910-0567. That's my direct line. I'm happy to help.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And I know people are going to be appreciative of that as well. So, once again, just thank you for joining me today. It's great to have you. And I'm excited to get people better.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing. Definitely always good to work with talented medical providers that really care and make a difference. So thanks for having me
Yeah.
on. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. My pleasure. Well, take care and we'll be in touch.
All right, thanks. Thank you, doctor. Have a good one.
Yeah. You too.